I remember the night they sent me to the morgue, not because I was dead, but because everyone believed I was. My name was written on a tag. My heart had stopped for nearly 7 minutes. And the doctor, with tired eyes and trembling hands, whispered the words no one ever wants to hear. Time of death, 2:47 a.m. They covered my face with a white sheet. My daughter screamed. My son turned away. I wanted to tell them I could still hear, that I wasn't gone, but my body refused to move. My mind was trapped in darkness, half in this world, half in whatever comes after. Hours later, they wheeled me into that cold room, the morgue. The air was thick with silence, the kind of silence that hums against your skin. The fluorescent lights flickered above, and the smell of metal and disinfectant filled the space. I could hear faint echoes, the shuffling of shoes, the clink of tools, the low murmur of voices behind masks. Then everything went quiet. It must have been around 4 in the morning when a young nurse named Clara walked in. She wasn't supposed to be there, just dropping off paperwork for the night shift. But destiny has strange timing. She told me later that she paused by my table because something didn't feel right. She said, "I looked at you, and it was like your chest tried to breathe." Her hands shook as she pulled back the sheet. My lips were pale, my body stiff from the cold, but my fingers twitched, just once. Like a whisper from the other side, Clara screamed for help, her voice echoing off the walls. But no one came right away. So she did something she wasn't trained to do. She pressed her hand against my heart. And for the first time in hours, it beat back. That single moment, that heartbeat changed both of our lives forever. Because I came back? And Clara never forgot. Even now, every year on that same night, she brings flowers to my porch, hugs me tight, and whispers, "You're the reason I still believe in miracles." But what she doesn't know is what I saw during those 7 minutes between life and death. The moment my heart stopped, everything went silent, not the kind of silence you hear in a quiet room, but a deep, endless silence that swallows even your thoughts. I didn't feel pain anymore. The tubes, the beeping machines, the hospital smell, it all disappeared. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but then I realized I was standing, looking down at my own body. My skin looked gray, my lips blue, and the nurses were moving fast, calling my name, trying to bring me back. I wanted to tell them, I'm right here, but my voice didn't exist anymore. I wasn't breathing, but somehow, was . Then, a light appeared, soft and golden, like morning sunlight breaking through storm clouds. It wasn't blinding. It felt warm, familiar. I began to walk toward it, my feet not touching the ground. Each step felt lighter, freer. The pain that had clung to me for years, from sickness, from loss, from life, started to fade away. And then, I heard a voice I hadn't heard in decades. "Baby girl," it said gently. I turned and saw my mother standing there, young again, her arms open wide. Behind her were faces I recognized, my husband, my brother, my best friend from childhood. They were all smiling, glowing with peace. I ran to them, tears streaming down my face, even though I had nobody to cry with. For the first time in so long, I felt home. But just as I reached for my mother's hands, something pulled me back, a sharp electric tug in my chest. I turned to see a faint outline of myself lying cold on that metal table. My body looked lifeless, but something was calling me, a heartbeat. Distant, yet familiar. And then, I heard another voice. A human one. "Come on, come back. Please," a woman cried. Her voice cracked through the silence like lightning. That was Clara, the nurse. Her tears fell onto my arm as she pressed her trembling hands against my chest. In that moment, I saw both worlds at once, the light of peace and the chaos of life. My mother's smile began to fade as she whispered, "It's not your time, baby. Go back, I screamed, "No, please." Asterisk, but my words were swallowed by light. And then, with a rush of breath that burned through my lungs, I came back. The cold air of the morgue filled my chest like fire. My eyes flew open. I gasped so hard that it hurt. The first thing I saw was Clara's face, pale, tear-streaked, and glowing under the harsh lights. She looked at me like she'd seen a ghost. And maybe, for a moment, she had. When I opened my eyes, the world felt heavy, like it was pressing down on my chest. My lungs fought for air, each breath scraping through me like sandpaper. The room was spinning, and for a moment, I thought I'd woken up somewhere between heaven and earth again. Then I heard a scream. It was Clara. She stumbled backward, one hand over her mouth, the other still holding mine. "She's alive! She's alive!" she shouted, her voice echoing through the morgue halls. Within seconds, the door burst open. 2 orderlies and a doctor rushed in, eyes wide with disbelief. One of them dropped the clipboard he was holding. The sound of it hitting the floor was the loudest thing in the world. The doctor who had pronounced me dead stared like he'd seen the devil himself. That's not possible," he whispered, his voice shaking. Clara ignored him. She grabbed my cold fingers and said, "It's possible. She's breathing." They surrounded me, their faces pale as snow, hands fumbling to reattach the monitor pads to my chest. The screen flickered, then beeped, once, twice, then steadily, beep, beep, beep. The same sound that had stopped hours ago now filled the room again. One of the men stepped back, mumbling a prayer. Another nurse crossed herself. And Clara, she just kept crying. I couldn't speak yet. My lips moved, but no sound came out. I wanted to tell them I'd seen the other side, that I wasn't supposed to come back, but I couldn't. My body was weak. My mind trapped between fear and wonder. They rushed me back upstairs, covering me with blankets, whispering words like asterisk, miracle, medical error, impossible, asterisk. The hospital lights above me blurred into white streaks as the stretcher rolled. All I could think about was my mother's voice, still echoing in my head, asterisk, "It's not your time, asterisk." When they brought me into the ICU, the staff froze. Some nurses gasped. One even dropped a tray. Everyone knew I had been declared dead. My name was on the morgue list. The tag was still tied to my wrist. The doctor came closer, hesitated, then said softly, "We need to verify everything." His eyes avoided mine, as if looking directly at me would make the world less real. But Clara didn't care about verification or paperwork. She held my hand and whispered, "You came back to me." That night, they kept me under observation. I barely slept. I kept hearing that heartbeat monitor, the sound of my second chance. Clara sat beside me the whole time, refusing to leave. At one point, she leaned closer and said, "You weren't gone. I don't know how. But you weren't gone." And I wanted to tell her, she was right. Because between heaven's light and this earth's air, there's a place where souls decide. And somehow, mine chose to return. After that night, Clara became more than just the nurse who saved me. She became family. She visited me every single day while I recovered. Sitting by my bedside even when her shift had ended, she'd bring me soup from her own kitchen, soft blankets that smelled like lavender, and sometimes just her company, which was the best medicine of all. Doctors came and went. Reporters even tried to talk to me once. They called it a medical miracle, but Clara didn't care about headlines. She cared about me. She once said, "They'll write stories about what happened, but I don't need proof. I saw it. I felt your pulse come back under my fingers. That's all I need." One afternoon, when my strength had returned enough for me to speak, I asked her, "Why did you even stop that night? You weren't supposed to be there." She smiled, her eyes soft. "I don't know," she said. "Something told me to go check one last time. I almost went home, but I heard a voice. It said, asterisk, and T, leave her yet, asterisk." We sat in silence for a while after that, both of us feeling the truth of those words. Because I had heard something to my mother's voice saying, go back asterisk. Maybe it was heaven's way of letting two worlds meet for just long enough to change both of us forever. When I was finally discharged, Clara helped wheel me out. Before I left, she placed her hand on my shoulder and whispered, "Promise me you'll never forget that night." I looked into her eyes, tears welling up. "How could I? You gave me back my life." She shook her head gently. "No," she said. "Something greater gave it to you. I was just chosen to witness it." That was over 15 years ago. Since then, every year on the same night, the anniversary of my death, Clara comes to my house. She never misses a year. Even when snow falls thick outside, even when her own health began to falter, she still comes. She always brings the same thing, a single white lily. She says it reminds her of that night in the morgue, the whiteness of the room, the stillness of my face, and the moment color came back to my lips. We sit together on my porch, wrapped in blankets, sipping tea, and she always asks the same question. "Do you ever wonder why you came back?" And I always smile and say, "Maybe because you were the one who believed I could." We both laugh softly, but our eyes say what words never could, that some bonds are written not in blood or time, but in miracles. Because when a soul touches another at the edge of eternity, that connection never truly fades. It's been 15 years since that night. The night death came for me, but grace sent me back. Every year, like clockwork, Clara visits. But this year, something felt different. It was early winter. The air outside carried that sharp chill that makes your bones ache, and the sky looked heavy with snow. I had my blanket wrapped around my shoulders, a cup of chamomile tea warming my hands. I kept looking out the window, waiting to see her car lights turn into the driveway. But hours passed. The clock ticked past 9 p.m., then 10, then midnight. She never missed a year, not once. My heart began to ache in that familiar way, not from sickness, but from the quiet fear that maybe, this time, she wouldn't come. Just as I was about to give up, there was a soft knock at the door. When I opened it, there she was, older, frailer, her hair silver now, but her eyes still shining with that same gentle light. She was holding a lily, wrapped in white paper. "I almost didn't make it this year," she said with a tired smile. "My legs aren't what they used to be." I helped her inside, and we sat by the fire like always. The silence between us was comfortable, like two souls who no longer needed words. After a while, she turned to me and whispered, "You know, I've thought about that night every single day. Not a week goes by that I don't remember how cold your skin felt, how lifeless. Until it wasn't. It changed me." I nodded, tears in my eyes. "It changed me too." She took my hand. "You gave me my faith back. I used to think miracles were just stories until you moved under that sheet." For a long time, we just sat there. Two women who had seen death up close and still chose to believe in life. When she finally stood to leave, she hugged me tighter than she ever had before. I didn't realize it then, but that would be the last time I ever saw her. A few months later, I got a letter from her daughter. Clara had passed away peacefully in her sleep. Inside the envelope was a note written in her shaky handwriting. It said, "If you're reading this, it means I've gone home. But don't be sad. You were my miracle. And you reminded me that death isn't the end. It's just the doorway to something beautiful. I'll visit you again, one last time, from the other side." Now, every winter night, when the wind howls through the trees, I light a candle by my window and place a single white lily beside it. And sometimes, when the room goes quiet, I feel her presence. Not as a ghost, but as a whisper of faith. Because even after death, the nurse who saw me move in the morgue still visits me every year,